Hello, hello, hello. This is Danielle here at the Black Healing Matters podcast, where we share with you ideas to hopefully move you one step closer to your healing. And today is no different, fam, because you know what today is, right? You better know what today is. Do you know what today is? It's Doing the Right Things Thursday, where we catch somebody in the act of doing the right things. And today is a very, very, very special show because we have a guest, of course, somebody who I have caught doing the right things. And I'm just so thankful and blessed to have her here on the show with us to share her expertise. Who is she? She is Miss Elisheva Ray. Who is Miss Elisheva Ray, you may ask? Elisheva Ray is a house cleaning and organization specialist. Her purpose is to help the world shine brighter, one home, one heart, one space at a time. Her business name, Ray of Light Cleaning Solutions, was inspired by her desire to combine her love for spreading positivity and helping people find greater happiness, clarity, peace of mind in their lives by helping them to clean and clear their spaces. She believes that our homes and spaces have personalities, emotions, and voices of their own that want to be heard and therefore should be treated with respect, with grace, presence, patience, and devotion. Her motto is, homes have feelings too. She currently lives in and serves from Metro Atlanta and is most grateful for her support system, and she affectionately calls them her golden friendships. Her message of love and light, along with her infectious optimism about life and her love of people, is one of the many reasons people are drawn to her. So, without further ado, fam, I bring you Miss Elisheva Ray. Are you there, Elisheva?
Yes, hello.
Yay! Welcome. Wow, I'm just so glad to have you here today. Like, this has been a while in progress coming together. So yeah, yesterday I don't know if I mentioned this, but yesterday was actually Welcome Wellness Wednesday, and we
Oh,
talked about on Welcome Wellness Wednesday we talked about environmental wellness. And so I knew that if anybody knows about environmental wellness, it's my girl Elisheva. Right? And so I'm just so excited to have you here to kind of further elaborate and really give your expert knowledge on this subject. So are you ready?
yes. Thank you so much for having me. Leading up to this interview, I was a ball of nerves, full of excitement. And I love what you're doing here with Black Healing Matters. I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts, and I just have and continue to just be blown away. So I'm just so incredibly grateful to have an opportunity to be here with you. So thank you for having me.
Wow, blessings. Thank you so much. That means the world to me that you actually listen to me. So I appreciate it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. You're welcome.
Thanks. Let's get right into it. Alicia, but my first question to you is really what led you to start this business in the first place? Ray of Light.
Well, it's interesting. So when I started my business, I actually was just trying to be there for my mother, particularly, and let me just specify that. So my mother has never had a birthday party. And I knew that. And I had for years just been saying to myself, one day I'm going to throw my mother a birthday party. Well, every year her birthday, it came and it went, and I didn't throw it. And then one year in particularly, I want to say it was 2014. Her birthday, it was about maybe 6 months from, it was about 6 months from happening. and I said, gosh, this would be a really great year to throw her this party. And so because now here's the thing, I had this sudden just like the nerve and the energy to do it, but it was 6 months away, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if that I'm gonna have the nerve to do this 6 months from now. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to celebrate her and have a celebration party to celebrate her life and her awesomeness. Now, here's the clincher. I was working from a zero budget. I had no money. I was going to school. So I thought to myself, what can I do to bring in the money that I needed to throw my mom this party? And so the first thing that I did is I raised some money. So I reached out to a lot of her friends and my friends on Facebook asking for donations, and I got a good amount to put down the deposit, the deposit, excuse me. And still I came up short, and I was like, oh my gosh, I still need more money. And by then I had reached out to over 100 people. So the next thing was, okay, what can I do to bring in money? And I thought, well, and I just kind of gave myself this mental list, and I thought, I can clean homes. At the time I was selling Avon, and I like doing hair. So there was just a number of things. So I thought, I was just so desperate because I had already put down the deposit. So I went into this Facebook group that I was a part of at the time, which was extremely instrumental in helping me get this off the ground. And I literally put in there, hey, I'm throwing my mother a party. I'm short. If, anyone who's here, if you're reading, can you let me clean your home? And I said, can you let me clean your home or buy some Avon from me, right? It was such a bootleg um, uh, calling for help. But you know what? Nobody bought Avon from me, but quite a few people was like, yeah, you can come and clean my home. And so I went and I cleaned their homes. We ended up having the party. Had enough money, and it was really great. And afterwards, I kept getting calls, and it just kept happening. And since I wasn't working, it was just more like, I guess I have a business. So I like to say that my business chose me. And that's how I'm here, 4 years later. And in that first year, it was really, I was building my business based off of the need that I saw, So the last thing I'll say here on that note is that, like, someone would send me a message and they'll say, hey, what's the name of your business? I'm like, well, let me come up with the name. Or do you have cards? Oh, I guess I need to go get cards now. Guess I need to go get a business license now. And so that's how I started my business, or that's how it started me, rather.
Wow, that's impressive. The fact that your business chose you, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My next question for you is, obviously you have a lot of experience now. You said you spent 4 years and you got most of your clients just organically, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so just specifically asking about your clients, or your experiences here, are there any issues you find with some people, Black people in particular, if you have experience, that with Black people they have issues creating spaces conducive to their wellness? So are there any issues you find that come up in creating those spaces, particularly with some of your Black customers?
Yes. So something that is pretty prevalent in the Black community, and is something that, because we have such a big history of lack and being behind, there's this idea that there's a constant feeling of having to catch up, having to save for the future, or, I've got to save this pair of pants that this child wore because, 3 years from now, I might not have enough money to be able to provide for my child in this way. And so, I mean, that's just a really simple example. But in terms of the Black community, I think just because of there's a lot of fear around us not being able to have what we'll need into what we'll need for the future. So there is a tendency to hoard. And what I like to say is that there's a difference between planning for the future and fearing for the future, because when we plan, yes, we anticipate possible needs or things that we'll need for the future, and we plan accordingly. But when we operate from a space of fear, those are the things that cause us to hoard, because it's coming from a place of fear of lack. So I've got to hold on to everything that I have right now, because just what if? And so that's something that I think it's pretty deeply imprinted on our community. But thankfully, I like to say that I do see in many spaces and in many certain groups of Black people, that is starting to be lifted. And I think even having shows like yours, Black Healing Matters, where we are becoming more aware and we are really rising as a community, certain of those issues are less prevalent, still prevalent, but not as heavy as they was before. So yes, that's something that hoarding, that need to hoard for fear of not having enough in the future.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Definitely understand what you're saying. I've experienced this in myself. I think I mentioned this on the episode yesterday about how I have to go through and just throw stuff away regularly, because my natural tendency, like you mentioned, I never thought about it though. My natural tendency is really just to hold on to stuff because, like you said, 3 years from now, I might need this pair of pants.
Yeah.
And I, low key, I still do have pants from many, many years ago that I probably need to throw away because I don't wear them. So that's really good. I have to agree with you on that. That's genius. I didn't even think about that. Thank you. All right. I know
and I want to say,
huh? What'd you say?
I wanted to say something real quick.
Oh,
Oprah
yeah.
alluded to this a while ago. She was saying how once she had already, been Oprah and making a lot of money and not having any, issues with money coming in, she would save her soap. So, when the soap gets down to like barely nothing. So she grew up in a household to where they saved the soap where it got down to barely nothing. That way they would have a couple of pieces to stretch that soap. And she was doing that for quite some times, well after she was the Oprah that we know, who we know is very wealthy. So that's just to give you an idea that just because the money comes, the success comes, the abundance comes, sometimes it takes a while for the mindset around abundance and lack to really, or the mindset around abundance to really catch up or be seen in multiple areas of our lives.
Wow. That's so, wow. I didn't realize that. You said that was Oprah, right?
Yeah, that was Oprah. She, was hoarding soap.
I can't even imagine. But it's like you said, it's the mindset. Like it has nothing to do with the money. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, all right, Miss Elisheva Ray. I'm so thankful to have you here because these insights are, I think these are things that you don't really understand unless you're on the inside. So thank you for giving us this insider kind of tips and insights. And so my last question for you today, as we round out this interview here, is what tips or final advice would you give to our listeners or anybody who's trying to maximize their space for environmental wellness?
Yeah. So what I first want to just kind of talk about a little bit about environmental wellness. And environmental wellness at its basic level, as we know, it's having access to clean hair and clean air, and feeling safe inside of your environment. And that also expands to, and that's what we're talking about here, is environmental wellness inspires good health and life fulfillment. and it also supports our well-being. Going into the tips that I have, I think, starting off with, it's important to start off with setting attention about how you would like to feel in your home, because what I have found is if I just give you, a bunch of, tips and tricks without connecting it with an intention or how you want to feel, then it's not as impactful. But what I have found is that when we can connect, like say a why, when we have a why around something that we want to do, then it increases our chances of really being able to achieve and get that thing that we want. So I really would want to say, first off, is starting with thinking about what environmental wellness means to you, and really looking at what areas in your life, in your environment, are already healthy, and really have gratitude around that. So if it is clean air, or if you feel safe in your environment, or maybe you don't feel those things, but maybe there are other aspects in your environment that are healthy. So that's the first thing, is having that gratitude for what's already well in your environment. And then, like I said, setting that intention, envisioning how you want to feel. And with that, so you might say, you know what, when I come into my home, I want to feel peace of mind. I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I want to feel like I can, it could be something as simple as, I want to be able to feel like I can find something that I've been looking for. Just knowing how you want to feel is so huge. And that's why I'm stressing it so much, because now when it comes to the day-to-day upkeep of cleaning and clearing your home, when you have that intention in mind, I promise you're gonna be more likely to upkeep your home. So with that, the first tip, after setting that intention, knowing how you want to feel, is to develop a system, right? So for instance, like you might say, on this day and this day and this day, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you are going to clean a particular area in your home, right? And commit to that. And literally in small bite-sized pieces. So you might say, for 30 minutes, I'm going to spend time organizing my closet on Tuesday. For 30 minutes on Wednesday, I'm going to spend time, maybe removing some pots and pans that I no longer use in my kitchen. And I just think it's really important to start small, because if you start with, oh, I'm going to clean my house, top to bottom, then you spend your whole weekend. Well, yeah, you may have spent your whole weekend and now your house is clean and now you feel good about it. What happens the next time is your house needs to be clean. You think about all that time you spent. You think about all the time you missed out, other things that you could have been doing, spending time with your family, working on personal projects, and you're reluctant to go clean again, because while you may remember the feeling of relief and being proud of yourself for having spent, a whole weekend cleaning, you'll also, a lot of times you'll remember the angst that you felt about spending that kind of time. So I think when it comes to, especially when you're just if you have a lot that you have to do, is to start small. And something I want to also include with that, I think it's also helpful to write it down. So before you go to clean, write down the areas that you want to clean in your home. And when you write it down, I find that you are less attached to it emotionally, and that allows you to put it into perspective. So rather than just saying, I'm going to clean, the kitchen Tuesday, the living room Wednesday, and the basement Thursday, by looking at it on paper and from having written it down, then you can from there make a plan for, oh, okay, you might, excuse me, so from there, you you can, by seeing that order, seeing it, getting it out of your mind and onto paper, you're able to put it more into perspective, right? And you might decide, hey, I can knock both of these things out on a particular day, or maybe this area don't need to be clean, not by me anyway. Maybe you can delegate that. So writing, having that system, writing down, like I said, writing it down. The next thing that I will say is, and this also, I kind of just covered it, but it was having a schedule, you know, and sticking as much as possible, sticking to that schedule. And when you found that you have veered off from that schedule, just get back on it. And so, and going along with starting small, you might just for a month say, you know, every Tuesday, I'm going to work on cleaning the bathrooms, just every Tuesday. And then over time you build up. So, and you see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And have some compassion with yourself. And so yeah, that's the next step. And the other thing that I will say is, so when it comes to the day-to-day upkeep of a home, whenever you go into a room and you notice there are things out of place, commit to taking 3 things out of that room whenever you leave it and putting those 3 things back. And if you're inside of another room and you see something else that could be taken to the room that you're going to, bring 3 things with you. And when you do that, what it does is you're creating a habit of putting things back, and that's going. And when you're creating that habit, what you'll find is that now when it's the weekend, you're not as overwhelmed. There's not as much stuff out of place as it would have been had you not been cultivating that habit of putting things back. And literally just 3 things. And I'm saying stick to 3 things, because again, if you go overboard and you spend hours and hours suddenly putting things back, and that wasn't the time that you set for cleaning your home, now you're going to be very reluctant to do it again. So that is the final tip that I have for you. There's so many other things that you can do to help, but these are some of the things that I have found to be very helpful with myself and my own experience, and as well as with my clients. And so, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That was awesome. I mean,
You're welcome.
that was more than I ever thought about cleaning. Yeah, so that's amazing. All right, I'm just gonna kind of recap some of the things you said, because I think what stood out to me most was you mentioned about intention, setting an intention of how you want to feel in your space. Like that's so huge, because we talk about intentions here a lot. Like every Sunday, you know, we have Set Your Intention Sunday. And so setting, I never really considered those, setting an intention about how you want to feel in your own space. Like that's so cool. I never really thought about that. And then also, like you mentioned, starting small, because I totally get that. Like that, I've had that experience before where I did so much. Like you spend the whole weekend, like you mentioned, like that was a perfect example, because I think we've all been there before. You spend the whole weekend cleaning, and then the next time you have to clean, you're like, man, I don't have a whole weekend to do this. So then you put it off another weekend. I do this. I put it off another weekend. Or it's like, I don't really want to spend my whole weekend doing this. So I come up with other things to do so that I can't clean.
Yeah. You're not alone.
Okay, it made me feel better. I hope y'all feel better. Black Healing Matters family, I hope y'all feel better too. Like,
Yeah.
And that goes really well with the next point that you mentioned. Like, and I think, you know, this is really, really important. Like you said, having compassion Wow. I think this is one of those areas where, especially, I don't know, maybe not just especially women, but all of us really, from my mother and my family, who have been like, you got to clean your house, you got to keep your house clean, you got to clean, clean, clean. Like, for me, there's actually a lot of guilt around
Yeah.
not cleaning, or not being really super diligent about cleaning, or, like you said, letting things get out of place and not immediately having everything, getting it back. And like, that's, I know I've experienced anxiety around that. So have you experienced that too, or have you seen that as well in your clients?
Yes, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And as a matter of fact, that is actually where that piece of compassion comes from. It's because I see the pressure that women that we put on ourselves because of that upbringing. So many women, we it's a part of our identity, our identity, for
Mhm.
what we have been taught a good woman does. And so if we aren't, the best housekeepers, it tends to weigh on us. So yeah, I see that. I mean, oh, it really breaks my heart. But that's why that compassion piece is really, really, really big. And I could do a whole show on just that because it,
Man, you know what? We're gonna have to have you come back so you can talk about that again, because that's really fantastic. And I think you're right about that. That it does. It's very impactful to many of us. And I think the thing about it is, the reason it's so insidious is that we don't really think about it. But it's there. It's definitely there. Wow. Thank you so much, Miss Elisheva Ray. Last question as we wrap up here. Where can the people find you, your business, if they want to book you, or, if they want to reach out to you? How can people get in contact with you? Your social media, or whatever?
Okay, so the best way to contact me is actually via social media, or even send me a direct email. I'm very active on Facebook. You can actually connect with me either on my business page, Ray of Light Cleaning Solutions, or even send me a message on my personal page, Elisheva Ray. You can also email me at rayoflightcleaning@gmail.com.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. I mean, you were the perfect person to talk about this. And I love how you bring that sense of compassion, and, that it's not just about, like mops and brooms and like, but and cleaning solution, but, you bring the heart center, the wellness part of this to life. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you. And on that note, fam, I hope that you are having a very great day. Happy New Year again. And as we start this new 2018 off, I hope you can do so with compassion and with great environmental wellness, fam. So, on that note, stay blessed. And as always, Black Healing Matters.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.